Okay, I'm going to go ahead and call the meeting to order. Can we start with the roll call, please?
Beginning roll call. Rebecca Kedibis. Alexis Lewis.
Here.
William McClure.
Here.
Shirley Melnico.
Here.
Kalima Salhuddin.
Here.
Rob Solano.
Here.
And James Simon.
Here.
Thank you.
Thank you. Moving on to public comments.
Before we move on to public comments, I just want to note that we did receive 2 written public comments before this meeting, and so it's emailed to council members or to commissioners and posted on the website. Let's see, we do have some hands raised on Zoom. So when I call your name, you'll be given 2 minutes to speak. I'd like to start with Stegnick Dan. You may begin to proceed with your comment.
Thank you. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Great. And this is general public comments, correct?
Yes, it is.
Great. I just wanted to say that I also submitted written comments that did not appear in the written comments. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, we like to call, okay, last call for public comment online. Okay, there are no more public comments. Back to you, Chair.
All right, thank you. Unless there's any changes, can I get a motion to approve the agenda?
So moved. Second.
All those in favor say aye. Aye. Okay, moving on to our next item, which is discussion and public action for recommendations to the Board of Supervisors regarding allegations of misconduct involving the Sheriff's Office. So I'm going to turn this over to Commissioner Solano to speak a little bit more.
Thank you, Madam Chair. First, it appears that the sheriff has already filed some correspondence within the Federal District Court, Northern District of California, involving Measure A and some other infractions that she's identified. What I would like to move here is that we, as a commission, forward pretty much the whole investigation that's already transpired now between the grand jury recommendation, all the investigations involving our county executive, other employees that were identified as having issues with the sheriff. And I'd like to refer that to the federal government, the United States Attorney, Northern District of California, as a commission. So I'd like to make that motion.
So you can make a recommendation to the board, but the commission should recommend that the Board of Supervisors do that.
Yeah, I think he's trying to make a motion that that we recommend to do that to the Board of Supervisors. So he's making a motion. I'll open up for discussion unless there's a second right now. Okay, so I'll open up for discussion unless you're.
I was just going to second for purposes of discussion.
Okay. All right. So I don't know if anyone has any discussion, questions for Commissioner Solano's recommendation.
I have a question for you, Rob. Why wouldn't we just go to the Department of Justice of California? I mean, wouldn't that be who would look into it? Be the Attorney General of California would look into the conduct of the Sheriff's Office?
Well, Alexis, I heard that it has been referred to the State Attorney General, and they haven't completed any action on it. That's why I'm looking towards the United States Attorney in the Northern District of California. Yeah.
Hi, Rob. I'd like to know if this would expedite anything, or is it just another layer?
Well, as you all know, I'm not an attorney, but I have dealt with federal law, and I see 2 defined definitions violations, 2 felonies that the grand jury has identified. One is the unlawful arrest of Carlos Tapia, who is the union president. And not only was he unlawfully arrested, but he was also, his violation of his civil rights were also done. And the unlawful detention would be under Title 18, and his violation of his civil rights would be under Title 42, which are 2 felonies under federal law.
I have a question, and I don't know how this can be done. I'm not a lawyer either. And there's so many things going on. And I don't think I would be prepared to make that type of decision tonight based off of lots of folks not knowing what direction this is going. Is there a way that we can get something kind of an outline that we could read to give us a little bit more, or give me a little more understanding of some of these things? Because will it expedite? Is it just another layer? Will it delay things even more? That's the type of information I'd hope to be able to get. And I don't know if we can get that tonight.
Yeah, well, what we can do is, as a commission, prepare a letter to the United States Attorney to look into this as a criminal matter under the violations that have been identified under the civil grand jury, and have them look into criminal violations relative to federal law. And under federal law, by going through a criminal grand jury, okay, it goes in front of a judge. There's a true bill that is passed by the grand jury that's coordinated by an assistant United States attorney, and then charges are filed. True bill is presented, and a judge would then sign off on the particular charges that they would find through their investigative means. And it would be up to the U.S. attorney either to forward it to the United States Department of Justice Civil Rights Division, which is in D.C., or the FBI here relative to the unlawful detention of Carlos Tapia. So that's about as much as I know, 20-something years, as bringing these in front of federal grand jury and federal judges.
So I think my questions are more around, would we be sending the letter as a body, or would we be making a recommendation to the Board of Supervisors to do that? And then the other thing is, do we want the attention of the federal government? Because they're a little bit messy.
So, can I?
Mhm.
I don't think we have authority to send a letter. I think we can provide details and make a recommendation to the Board of Supervisors. But I think I think under our kind of charter, we're advisory to the Board of Supervisors and make recommendations to them.
Mhm.
And so I think we could include requesting a letter being specific about what the charges are that we think should be referred to the U.S. Attorney's Office or the FBI or, Civil Rights Division, et cetera, if we think it's appropriate to do that. And right now I'm kind of neutral on whether that's a good idea or not. I'd also like to hear from the public if there's some public comments to see if there's some input, and then maybe we can have some discussion after that.
Any other questions? Go ahead.
Well, I would also be curious to hear from our.
I knew someone was going to ask. So to provide legal analysis of what's going on and whether something is a felony and whether the United States Attorney's Office might be interested, or that's beyond my role here. My role is to provide legal guidance to the commission in your role as a Board of Supervisors commission, how to operate the commission, how to run the commission. If there's something that's a legal question that's like well within my wheelhouse, I'm happy to answer, but I think that's crossing a line in terms of my function to give you, like, to serve as a lawyer to explain or advise, like, what the next steps might be.
Go ahead.
Alexis brings up a good point relative to the State Attorney General. Do we know if the State Attorney General has been formally asked to look into this?
I recall that the Board of Supervisors asked that it be referred to the Attorney General's office. I don't know for a fact that it was subsequently. I'm not part of that process.
Yeah. I know we have some hand raised and we're ready to open up to public comment, but at the same time, I just feel like how many investigations, how many different things can we let some things play out before we dive into another bucket? It just is, will it add an added layer of complication? And then the other issue for me is unknown things that may come up from this action. There's already enough variables. Do we want to add another variable? Is my hesitancy around it. But I'll turn it over to public comment.
We do have a few public comments. I'll start with the in-person public comment. So when I call your name, you may come up to the podium. You'll have 2 minutes to speak. I like to call Marshall to the podium, and you'll be given 2 minutes to speak.
Thank you very much. I appreciate this opportunity to express my viewpoint on this. I'm as dismayed and disappointed as anyone about the sheriff's actions that led us to this point. But I think it would be a very big error for the Civilian Advisory Commission to recommend that the Board of Supervisors refer specific allegations of misconduct involving the sheriff's office to an independent outside investigative agency for several reasons. One, referral would be to a federal agency, as was mentioned in the motion, which I think might be a bit vindictive against our county, our sheriff, and I do not think they should be trusted with such an investigation under the current circumstances and what they have demonstrated plainly to the public. Secondly, I don't think we should hand a Latina to the Trump administration under any circumstances, and certainly not the first Latina sheriff. Third, the sheriff will have already paid a very high price for her misconduct if and when the Board of Supervisors votes to remove her. We do not need another ounce of flesh to punish her, especially under the current political circumstances. And fourth, and very importantly, I'd like to point out, as all of you, I am sure, are quite aware of, the Board of Supervisors is itself largely responsible for allowing Corpus's actions to continue to the point at which her actions led to this situation. A real oversight with an independent inspector general, had they had the courage to approve this 1 or 2 years ago.
So you're asking for respect for a Latina. Let's respect this Black woman. And I'm telling you, that's time. That's time. You're out of time.
Oh, I'm sorry.
That's time.
Okay,
Yeah.
but I think you've gotten my message.
Yeah.
And I thank you very much for this opportunity. I hope you don't go down that path.
Awesome. Thank you, Marshall. We'll now move on to the Zoom public comments. So when I call your name, you will be given 2 minutes to speak. I'd like to start with Elsa. Elsa, can you hear us?
I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you. You may begin with your comment.
Thanks so very much. I was fascinated that this became a topic for this group and am grateful to be able to listen to it also. I wonder if the county council can weigh in on whether it is legitimate to call those two named items illegal and felonies. And I hope I'm using the right language there. I just came on, apologies. Secondly, I also wonder whether, and when I first read about this, I wondered whether this could help speed up the process. The concern I have, which is growing, is that there have been so many layers of process that keep appearing that delay and delay and delay it. So instead of adding another layer, I'm reframing it as, could this help speed up coming to a conclusion? And if it would do that, if there's any way in which, whether it's functional or pressure or whatever, I would very much be in favor of that. And last comment, the Board of Supervisors did definitely ask the California AG. And I also, just when I saw him one-to-one, asked him, and he looked nonplussed as if he knew nothing about it, but he looked very worried. But he clearly himself has not done a thing about it. So I laud the idea of not trying to, again, bang on that door, but go elsewhere. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Elsa. Next, we have Pat. Pat, can you hear us?
Willard.
Hello?
Can you hear
Pat,
me?
we can hear you. You're a little low, though.
Okay.
Now you're better. Go ahead.
Thanks. I was going to tell you the same thing. The people speaking at the dais are loud and clear. The gentleman who spoke initially in favor of this item is loud and clear. Perhaps it's Kalima's side of the room that is difficult to hear. What I wanted to say on this topic is that, first of all, ignore Donald Trump. The easier you make for him, the harder he gets. But more to the point, by the time this item gets to the level of court, Donald Trump will be out of office. Second point, violations of civil rights. This black man finds violations of civil rights abhorrent. I also find it irresponsible to delay civil rights investigations and to delay civil rights court actions and investigation and submitting to a judge and a jury. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next, we have Dan. You may begin.
Thank you. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Excellent. I sent written comments this morning asking to postpone this action and also asking that anyone who was a federally listed Brady officer to recuse themselves. If anyone in this room has been listed as a federal listed Brady officer by Judge Vaughn, you should recuse yourself immediately. You can do so now.
May I answer that?
I'm going to continue my public comments here. I'm not an attorney, but I think I've spent more time in federal court in the last 3 months than everybody else in this room in the last 3 years. I've filed more than 10 CPRAs with the Attorney General's office and spoke to more than 30 elected officials. It's my understanding the AG gave a telephone opinion on this, that there is nothing that the state could do and that Measure A was not legal. You are an advisory agency. You are absolutely welcome to submit this to the Federal Bureau of Investigation and the U.S. Attorney's Office. And I would suggest that you have anyone who is federally listed as a Brady officer by Judge Vaughn be your representative. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Last call for public comment? Nope. Back to you, Chair.
Okay, thank you. So I don't know if there's any actual discussion on this item. Any other questions on this item? Go ahead.
Jackie Rugoni, Chief of Staff for Supervisor Corzo. I just wanted to confirm that the board took action in November to direct the county executive to send the Judge Cordell report to the California Attorney General and to the district attorney, along with a request, and this is the exact wording, along with a request that those offices take appropriate action related to the report. I have no reason to believe that the county executive didn't do that.
Thank you. So I don't know if there's any other comments on the item. No. I know we have a motion and a second. Are you guys okay taking a vote? Go ahead.
Could you rephrase the motion?
The motion was to make a recommendation to the Board of Supervisors. Yes, to refer this matter to the federal government. So we have a motion and a second. Okay, so it's right there, I guess. To refer specific allegations of misconduct involving the sheriff's office to an independent outside investigative agencies, which would include the United States Attorney General, federal government. So I'm just gonna go ahead and call for the vote because we have a motion in a second. All those in favor? All those opposed? I'm opposed.
I'll do.
Abstain?
Okay, so you want to do a roll
Yeah,
call?
go
Go ahead.
Roll call. Rebecca Cudabitz. Alexis Lewis.
Abstain.
Bill McClure.
I abstain.
Shirley Melnico.
Abstain.
Kalima Salahuddin.
No.
And Rob Solano.
Aye.
And James Simmons.
No.
Thank you. We're gonna move on to our next item. Oh, go ahead.
Just to clarify, I think that means the motion fails
Yeah.
because it failed to obtain a quorum.
Thank you for making that clear. Okay, so I'm gonna move on to item 5, which is discussion and possible action, request of a full-time inspector general to evaluate staffing level, safety, and operational integrity at the sheriff's correctional facilities, January 2025 to current, assessment of the Professional Standards Bureau, internal affairs practices, timelines, transparency, accountability, and disciplinary action, and assessment of the Professional Standards Bureau civilian complaint practices process, timelines, transparency, accountability, and disciplinary actions, including any pending 2022 to current. So I think we decided at our last meeting that we would go before the Board of Supervisors with a recommendation, just sticking to the Inspector General, because that's the topic that they're open to discussing now. And in line with recommendation of an independent Inspector General for the sheriff, these are some items that we would add to recommend for evaluation. Is that clear? Okay, so opening up the floor for any questions, comments? We can at some point. Yeah, no worries. Yeah, it's a discussion. Give it 1 sec. Just give us 1 sec. Yeah. No, no, go ahead. Go ahead, Bill.
I'm happy to make a motion to approve for purposes of having a discussion.
Do we need to make a motion for discussion items? Yeah. Okay. That's all right. There we go. Go ahead.
For what?
This is
We
a
made it.
discussion and possible action, so we're just discussing
Oh,
right
okay.
now. Yeah. But we're safe. We're just,
You're good.
okay. Alexis, did you want to say anything? No. Okay, go ahead, Jackie.
It was just a question about clarification of what the full-time means, meaning would the full-time be indefinite or would the full-time mean covering all of those 3 items and then end? And I think that might be something that might want to be clarified.
Okay. So I think full-time it's a full-time inspector general that's for the sheriff's office. So their job would be to work for the sheriff and working for the sheriff's office, supporting the board of supervisors and possibly us as well, full-time. Right now, the inspector generals that they have are contracted, and so they work a specific amount of time, but we want somebody on staff full-time whose sole job is to be working for the sheriff's office.
Actually, if I may, I don't think it would be working for the sheriff's
know.
office. It would be working as an independent inspector general well, it would be independent, but it wouldn't be working for the sheriff, wouldn't report to the sheriff, or sheriff wouldn't have any control over that person's position. It
Thank
would
you
be
for the clarification.
kind of like county council or, because it would be independent.
Thank you for the clarification. When I meant for the sheriff's office, what I was trying to say is it would be working in support of the sheriff for us and for because I don't want it to seem like this is something that's just investigating the sheriff's office. We want to support the staff and employees of the sheriff's office. One of the reasons why I support this is because staff in the sheriff's office had nowhere to go with complaints. And so this would be one of the avenues open to them as well. So maybe I can say for the county would be a better way to phrase it.
So
Shirley, and then I'll toss it back to you.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
Okay, and then you.
So on this
What-
Inspector General, I think that we should specify that the person has subpoena power.
Mhm.
And the other thing is that since we do have right now Inspector Generals on call, they don't have subpoena power. Is there a way that you could give them subpoena power?
There is a way. The Board of Supervisors would certainly have that authority to delegate their subpoena power to somebody. The board has reviewed that matter previously and made the determination that they wanted to be the ones that held the subpoena power and that they wanted to be the ones that were consulted in the event that somebody wanted to issue a subpoena. That was the previous discussion with the Board of Supervisors. That's a pretty significant measure to take to issue a subpoena. They wanted to be involved in that process and maintain that power with themselves exclusively. I can articulate it a little bit more if that would be helpful.
Well, the question really is whether or not they would accept a permanent Inspector General with subpoena power.
I don't know what they would accept. There was a different configuration of board members at the time that they initially made this. They created this body. They certainly considered the possibility of a permanent Inspector General that would be full-time with subpoena power as one of the options. That board didn't select that option. We do have, and I think that's why the chair is calling it full-time, we do have permanent bench of multiple inspector generals that we can call upon to deploy for investigations. So that's going to continue in perpetuity. It's just as they describe, they're called on an ad hoc basis. If there's something to investigate or something that's of interest to the Board of Supervisors, it could be something prompted by this board that says you should task somebody with looking into staffing or something. The board then, brings somebody on to conduct that investigation.
Go ahead, yes, sir.
Thank you. I think the current system that's set up by the county relative to bringing these contractors in is a reasonable, less costly than to hire a complete different section relative. That would be the Inspector General's office, and have investigators and a whole complete staff of individuals that are looking into this. I see the quality myself of the investigations that have been done, and it's been done by the system, right, Adam, where they have identified certain people that are available for resource, and kind of call them inspector generals in order to do these investigations. And they do work under the authority of the Board of Supervisors, correct? So if their findings are held by the Board of Supervisors, and their actions, if need be to have subpoena power or things like that, the Board of Supervisors can grant that group also subpoena power through the Board of Supervisors, correct?
That hasn't ever happened, but I don't see any legal impediment to the board doing that. So far, the board has said in the event that an inspector general would like to issue a subpoena, they should come to the Board of Supervisors, explain what's going on, explain why that's necessary, and then issue it. They haven't delegated the authority to the inspector general and said, use your best judgment on when you need to issue subpoenas or not.
Yeah, well, my purpose here isn't to burden the taxpayer with what's been happening here with all these lawsuits. And this whole thing's turned into a complete financial mess relative to taxpayers of San Mateo County trying to do this. And I think if we establish a division or bureau for the Inspector General at this time, I'm of an opinion that they need they need Inspector General. I would be in favor of the county executives for bringing these different investigative groups in with the control of the Board of Supervisors. And just like Shirley said, to have subpoena power so they could get into the meat of a lot of these items. So I'm for the Inspector General, but I'm not for the cost that it's going to affect us as a county by setting up a whole different bureau. Thank you.
And I just wanted to make sure that one thing is clarified. Judge Cordell, I believe, was retained to do her investigation prior to the establishment of the bench of inspector generals. So although she essentially functioned in the role of one, conducting an investigation, preparing reports for the Board of Supervisors, she wasn't technically one of the ones that was on our bench at the time. The subsequent investigation by OIG into allegations against County Executive Callaghy was one of the inspector generals that were on our bench.
And this body, we voted already to make the recommendation for a permanent inspector general with the subpoena power. This is more just adding to that recommendation some specific things we'd like them to look into. So we've already established that this is something that we want to do. It's just more, do we want to add these certain items that were brought up by a member of this body to add to that recommendation? Or is there anything else that we wanted to add to the recommendation of items that when we give the presentation for the recommendation to the Board of Supervisors, say, and these are some things that we think the Inspector General could or should be looking at? And I will also add, I understand that, adding staff is an expense. But I will say that I think, in my opinion, it could possibly save us money in the long run, in the future. I know we've had this possibility or have this ability in the past, but I think it turns it from something that's reactive. You hire Inspector General because you hear something has happened, or there's a fear, or there's some trends that you see happening that you want to investigate, to proactive, somebody who's actively monitoring something and then can possibly disrupt seeing changes, seeing, for example, a cycle of people being removed, drop off, retention issues, morale, and other types of assessment and looking at different metrics can possibly start looking into, investigate before an issue arises to the level of the Board of Supervisors. In my opinion, when something gets to that level, it's serious. So we're fixing a problem instead of getting in front of it. So I'm trying to find a tool that could be proactive instead of having a tool currently that is a reactive.
So you articulated a number of things that I was kind of percolating in my brain, but my understanding is that we did already recommend a permanent investigative. The permanent position of the Inspector General, independent Inspector General, and so this I now understand is clear to me that we're just giving some recommendations of some of the tasks that independent inspector would do. That an independent inspector would also, and in my opinion, that includes subpoena power because that was in our prior motion, and that they wouldn't have to go to the Board of Supervisors to do that because then it becomes more public what they're investigating if they have to go, depending on whether it can be done in closed session or not. Because if it's not litigation, then they can't necessarily go to closed session. So I think it's important that the Inspector General have independent subpoena power that doesn't require approval of the board. I also think that, this is not intended to preclude a complaint process whereby the Inspector General could investigate complaints by staff within the sheriff's office or citizens outside with respect to, issues and complaints that might arise. And I think it's, so for kind of all of those reasons, I support the motion. But again, also want to hear from the public before taking any action.
Thank you. Any other comments from commissioners? Go ahead.
My only comment is that, on the staffing level, safety and operational integrity, really, does an Inspector General have that information? There was a report that was done, the Meliora report, where they actually did a lot of that, and that was done in just 2 years ago. But the other things where you're talking about the accountability, disciplinary actions, and civilian complaints, I think those are the things that we should have an independent Inspector General really look at, but not just everyday kind of activity of the Sheriff's Department.
So
Yeah.
it's not limiting, we can add things to this if you'd like to add something.
I have a question. Is the structure of the Inspector General, is it going to be an actual, like a bureau where
No.
they're going to have staff, or is it going to be an assigned Inspector General to have all this authority, and this Inspector General is going to do all these investigations all by his or herself, or how's the structure of this office going to be? That's what I'm concerned about. I'm concerned about not making it into some huge bureaucratic bureau or investigative group that has no policy or procedures or any type of structure. So if we're going to make the recommendation, I agree. This organization, the Sheriff's Office, needs some oversight and some Inspector General to look into it. But I'm not in agreement to clarify my position is to create another division or another part of the county to look into these things.
Mhm.
I think, maybe it could be under the county attorney's office or maybe under the county executive's office where that individual could sit and then use the resources of maybe the DA's office or even the county attorney, Bumble, or, county executive's office. So I'm just against making this a huge bureaucratic thing as long as we have the appointing process that the county executive's office has done with assigning these investigations. Thank you.
Rob, I don't think it has to be something larger. We can say that as one of our recommendations, that we don't want it to be a large bureaucratic organization. And what I was thinking is that the sheriff's office should be working under their procedures manual. And they have a corrections procedures manual and they have a policy and procedures manual. And then independent inspector general would make sure that's how they're working, that they're working under those procedures. And whatever falls under there is what they would make sure that they did. And where that person sits really doesn't have any bearing on their authority. Do you understand? I mean,
And I can send you some information. I mean, Sonoma, Sacramento, Santa Cruz, Santa Clara, LA, Alameda. There's a variety of different counties around us that have this person on staff already, where and I can send you the information where their explanation of their office, the rules, guardrails, policy in which they operate. You can look at. It's pretty standard across the different counties for this role, and I can send you that information, Rob, if you want to look at it.
and Rob, I look at it kind of like SOX compliance. You say, these are our procedures, and this is how we make sure everything is handled. And then the inspector general just makes sure, he or she just makes sure that you are following those procedures. That's how I look at it. I mean, that's simplified, but that's how I look at it.
Sure.
Alexis, you bring up a great point. Verification question, can the Board of Supervisors compel a subpoena and have someone testify in front?
Yes.
So an inspector general could work under the Board of Supervisors with that capacity for subpoena power.
I believe so, yes.
Yeah.
That's all right,
It-
that's
it
my
can-
understanding, yeah.
No, that's
But the board
important
is
because
the one who-
these people here want an answer relative to the clout that the inspector general will have. And subpoena power is one of those tools in the toolbox that that individual needs. And if the Board of Supervisors can provide a subpoena and subpoena people in front of it for cause through an inspector general inquiry, well, then we're almost there. So that's what I would like verification of. Thank you.
I can just, I don't know if this will help, but I was. gonna
Yeah, I
try-
mean, I think so I think there's two things. Like, we already know that the Board of Supervisors has the ability to subpoena. And we want this person that we're recommending to also have the ability to subpoena, have subpoena power. So, as Bill stated earlier, we don't want them to have to go through the Board of Supervisors in order to use that subpoena power. That's clarification. I'm going to go ahead and open it up for public comments.
We do have a few speaker slips submitted, so we'll start with in-person public comment. So when I call your name, you may come to the podium. You'll begin 2 minutes with your public comment. I'd like to call Jim Lawrence to the podium, followed by Deacon McCombs.
Good evening. For the record, my name is Jim Lawrence. I come at it from a different perspective. For me, strong oversight is the bedrock of public safety. Public safety should be the highest priority for all elected officials, as evidenced by the fact that law enforcement and fire safety services are the highest percentage of municipal budgets throughout California. Police and fire. Our tax dollars, We spend more for them than any other thing in the budget. And this is according to the California State Controller's Office. This is not Jim Lawrence's numbers. So I just feel like we need some oversight as well as an inspector general, a permanent inspector general. Yes, he can work for the board or under the board, but as you said, he needs the authority to act. I strongly believe had we had one before, we wouldn't be in this toxic situation we're in today. I feel sorry for the sheriff's office. They see us sitting there going through the motions. We're filing all this stuff and nothing's getting done. Yet we asked them to do their job. So I think we need to move forward and put this onus on the board to move forward. Because if we don't do it, as someone said to me, who else is going to do it? Thank you.
Thank you. Deacon McCombs, followed by Karina.
My name is Deacon Lauren Patton McCombs, and I am currently serving at Christ Episcopal Church in Portola Valley and Woodside. I'm a member of Peninsula Solidarity Cohort in Fixing San Mateo. Millions upon millions of dollars have been spent by our county during this legal process of removing Sheriff Corpus. There have been reports of misconduct and toxic work environment since she was elected. I wonder if San Mateo County had a permanent inspector general for the sheriff's office, which I know you are recommending, if this wasteful and unnecessary spending could have been avoided. I would venture a guess that the answer to that question is a definite yes. As we know all too well, we can't go backwards and fix the past, but we must move forward and create a better future for our county. We must create trust and transparency. I'm hopeful that tonight ICAC will take further action to unanimously recommend to the Board of Supervisors that they establish the position of the permanent inspector general like you have done, which I commend you for that. But they need to have subpoena power. And I appreciate the extra work looking into exactly what that position will be involved. So I believe this truly, that our county deputies, employees, and residents must have a confidential place to make complaints against the sheriff's office that's not influenced by the Board of Supervisors or anyone else, so that it was completely independent. The time for you all to act is now. Thank you again for your service to the county.
Thank you.
Next, we have Karina.
Hi, I'm Karina from Redwood City, and this is my first in-person ICAC meeting. So I want to thank all of you for serving on this commission. I think it's really important. I want to thank you for your support of an inspector general and add my own support to that. We needed an inspector general a long time ago. I don't know how anyone can look at the events of the last 6 months and say that the way the county handles oversight of the sheriff has worked well. The financial fallout alone is massive, including lawsuits filed by Sheriff Corpus, by Victor Anye, by Captain Brian Phillip, by former Assistant Sheriff Ryan Monahan, by the Sheriff's Deputy Union President Carlos Tapia, and by County Executive Mike Halligy. And those are just the ones that I know about. Hiring LaDoris Cordell to investigate was a good choice, but by then the damage had already been done, and now the costs are piling up. What county services are going to be cut to pay for these lawsuits? What vulnerable people are going to be shortchanged because the county couldn't get ahead of this mess? We know it doesn't work because we've been doing it. So let's do something different and install a permanent IG with the resources to intervene before things get out of control. In terms of the IG specific duties, it's essential that they have a strong and continuous familiarity with the workings of the sheriff's office. We do not have the time, and we should not be spending the money for ad hoc inspectors to start every investigation from the ground floor. We need to be preventing this kind of disaster, not just reacting to it. I think the topics listed in the agenda are a good start to creating safeguards against the sort of abuses that have been revealed. I would request that the recent deaths in our county jail be specifically recommended as an area for investigation as well. Thank you.
Thank you, Karina. We'll now move on to Zoom public comment. So when I call your name, you may begin and proceed with your comments. I'd like to call Pat followed by Elsa.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you, Pat.
I'm Pat Willard, founding director of Peninsula Anti-Racism Coalition. In partnership with Search San Mateo, we researched roughly 24 oversight commissions and oversight committees and inspectors general's ordinances across the country. When we were done with that task, we donated the exemplar ordinances to Fix SMC. I was also on the writing committee with Fix SMC at the time. I want to remind the ICAC members again that looking into deaths in jails is also another thing that the Inspector General would do. Unfortunately, San Mateo County's ICAC is not defined by a county ordinance. What this means is that currently the roles and responsibilities can be changed at any time, even at a whim. Specific urgency for this permanent inspector general is defined as Kalima has mentioned, County of Los Angeles, and also County of San Francisco. I emailed with Ms. Megan Ghosh this afternoon and asked her that the LA County ordinances for Inspector General and Commission, Oversight Commission, and those of likewise County of San Francisco be established as a part of the public record and distributed to Mr. Neblin's staff and commission members today. You have it in your packet, I believe.
Thank you.
Next, we have Elsa, followed by Eric. Elsa, you may begin.
Thank you so much. One plea, if people could talk near their microphones, we who are unfortunately remote could hear much more clearly. Most of you are, a couple people sort of lean back in their chairs, and then we can't hear. Thank you so much. I recommend that a permanent IG, and I'd like to point out, would use metrics to track activity month after month with quarterly reports going both to the sheriff and in discussion and to the Board of Supervisors. And those metric reports can help identify, analyze, and recommend action to address the issues identified. Would training for example, evolution of it help address any problems identified? Would identifying positive trends point to the value of replicating a certain policy if it's used in one area or not another? Elements of training, pilot efforts, and in particular management areas. If someone's team, and I've seen this work before with oversight, if someone's team is getting particularly good results, and I have some examples here, but I think I shouldn't use them, then study what's happening there and replicate it across the system. It's absolutely very important to have this office have structure, to have a purview, and to have duties that the IG needs to deal and deliver with. The Board of Supervisors and possibly ICAC can help define those metrics. We do have many examples from LA to Denver and even Miami, as well as other counties in California who are using these. We have a lot that we can borrow from and learn from. And NACOL nationally has a lot also. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Elsa. Next up, we have Eric, followed by Fix in San Mateo County.
Hello. This is Eric Sapp from Redwood City. Earlier, it was questioned what the proper scope of subpoena power is for an inspector general. This is addressed in the government code at section 25303.7 and in particular in subdivision C. This was the codification of AB 1185 from 2020. Paragraph 1 says a county, through action of the Board of Supervisors or vote by county residents, may establish an office of the Inspector General. Paragraph 2, the Inspector General shall have the independent authority to issue a subpoena or subpoena duce tecum. So by operation of the statute, if you have an Inspector General, they have independent subpoena authority, and it being independent means they are not subject to the Board of Supervisors approving the issue of a subpoena or not. So the Board of Supervisors, in order to limit that power, would have to go to some lengths to do so. It did so with this very body when it created ICAC as a advisory commission rather than an oversight board. That same statutory provision, 25303.7 in subdivisions A and B, created what it called a sheriff oversight board as a possibility that a county can adopt, and an oversight board would have the subpoena power. So all the Board of Supervisors did was just, it seems to me, evade that power by naming the ICAC an advisory commission rather than an oversight board, specifically to get rid of the subpoena power. But no such trick should be allowed in the case of an Inspector General. I suppose they could invent a name, but that would be pretty transparently illegitimate. So anyway, thanks for listening and keep up the good work.
Thank you, Eric. Next up, we have Fixin San Mateo County, followed by Beth.
Hi, my name's Nancy Goodban. I'm with Fixin San Mateo County. I live in Redwood City. I do support this motion and what the commissioners and the commenters have said. As you pointed out, ICAC did vote for a permanent inspector general with subpoena power, and Fixin supports that also, based on the AB 1185 framework. Thank you for considering these additional areas for the inspector general to focus on. These do need an additional ongoing investigation. We know that from the reports we've seen. It would help to support the sheriff deputies and other civilian employees and help to rebuild the organization. That's one of the most important efforts, I think, going forward. And we totally agree that it's proactive rather than reactive, rather than bringing someone in ad hoc when the media makes a mess of things, so that inspector general who's permanent and is an ongoing regular presence in the county can build a relationship with the sheriff as well as the community. And a regular, ongoing, permanent inspector general would be part of the budget. For example, as in other counties, you do have to budget for that, cost of the position and a couple of support staff to help investigate. It is not a huge bureau, except perhaps in LA, which is a huge city and county. And to have the authority to get information from the sheriff. The inspector general would also report to the Board of Supervisors, as we've talked about, and look at incidents including deaths in the jail, trends, policies such as the mail policy, and look at how the policies are implemented, such as the voter registration and religious services, and very importantly, take complaints. So thank you so much for your work on this, and thank you for moving this forward.
You. Now next we have Beth. Beth, you may begin.
Thank you. This is Beth Von Emster. I'm a resident of Belmont. I too support these added tasks to adding these tasks to the Inspector General's remit, and I urge you to proceed with making these additions to your recommendation about an Inspector General. The human and financial toll of failing to hire an Inspector General, as other speakers have said, already has been incalculable and will take many years for the Sheriff's Office to recover from. A multitude of deputies, Sheriff's Office leaders, and civilian staff have left, been fired, been put on leave, and in one instance arrested on false charges. All of this has been a profound waste of human talent. It's cratered morale, it's exposed the county to tens of millions of dollars in liability, and it endangers public safety. If an Inspector General had been in place, they could have been a resource for sheriff's office staff to address these issues. The inspector general going forward would become familiar with department operations and not need to reinvent the wheel with each investigation, as has been happening for the last year or more. The existence of an inspector general could speed the county's recovery from all the damage done to this point and prevent a recurrence of the misconduct that brought us here. Thank you.
Thank you, Beth. Last call for public comment? Nope. Back to you, Chair.
Thank you so much. So, I noted from the comments that the recent deaths has been an ongoing discussion, and I know it's something that the sheriff's office itself is looking into. So, I'm not opposed to adding that on here because it is in an area of it is an area where a lot of people are looking into and would like additional information. And then the other thing I would like to change, I just noticed just from my talking, and on the third bullet, I would just take out civilian and just put complaint practices, because I don't want it to feel like it's limited to civilians. Just anyone that has a complaint, this is a place where they can lodge a complaint. So those are the two changes that I would like to suggest.
I'll consider that to be a friendly amendment and accept that if the seconder will also agree to those two changes. You agree?
Agree to those
To
amendments.
those amendments, the motion? Yes.
So I don't know if there's any other discussion on these. If not,
I'll do.
can I get a roll
Yeah,
call?
roll call. Being roll call, Rebecca, Alexis,
Yes.
Bill,
Yes.
Shirley,
Yes.
Kalima,
Yes.
Rob, James,
Yes.
motion passes.
Thank you. Okay, so our next item on the agenda is just to have some discussion on, we are going to go to an upcoming Board of Supervisors meeting to make these recommendations and to possibly, and to talk about what we've done in the year that we've been a commission. But this is our first time giving recommendations to the Board of Supervisors. So just to get some information on what the possible timeline, what happens after we give the recommendation, when should we expect to hear information? Looking at other commissions, has there been a set of processes that they go through in discussing it? And then how long do we think it'll take them to get back to us? Just to level set on expectation.
Great. I'm going to present a little bit of information on that to share. Some of it might be rudimentary, and you may already know it, but I just think we can go through it. Some of it may not provide specific answers to some of these questions because they don't have specific answers. This is an advisory commission, as you all have been talking about. You advise the Board of Supervisors. There's about 30 advisory bodies that the Board of Supervisors relies on. The primary way that the commission communicates to the Board of Supervisors is through liaisons. The board president at the beginning of their term each year makes committee assignments and assigns a committee typically to each commission. We have Supervisor Canepa appointing Supervisor Corzo and Mueller as the board member liaisons for the ICAC. Typically, because the supervisors can't attend 30 meetings in the evening and still keep their family together, they rely on their aides. And we have Jackie Rigoni from Supervisor Corzo's office and Marisol Escalar, who is here from Supervisor Mueller's office. They attend, they take notes, they pay attention to what's going on, and they report back to their supervisors and keep them informed of the commission business. They're the best folks to talk to about, are we working in the direction that the supervisors support? Do you think we're heading off down a rabbit hole? or we're covering a topic that has already been decided and the board has expressed an opinion and there's no support for, they usually will be able to provide that sort of guidance to keep the commission kind of in line with the Board of Supervisors. In some instances, I think as you identified, Chair, the president of the commission will meet with the liaisons directly, the board members themselves, and frequently that's either through inviting the member themselves to attend a specific meeting or through setting up quarterly other meetings just to check in. So it's usually, the vice chair or the chair who's having those direct conversations with supervisors. So that's the first level of feedback. The second level is what you guys were talking about today, is presentations and reports to the Board of Supervisors themselves, the collective group. The way that works is just how it was working today. You've identified a topic. You've come to a collective agreement that you want to move something up in front of the Board of Supervisors, and you voted on what you're going to bring forward. Also, boards will bring annual reports. For most boards, including this one, once you establish your work plan, you have about a year to report out to the Board of Supervisors what progress you're making. And so that happens. The timing of when you would be on the Board of Supervisors calendar to present is actually determined by the Board of Supervisors president in consultation with the CEO's office, because they have to balance all the other things they have going on, identify when you can get to the board. So typically that'll be done through staff or through the liaisons saying, we have an item, we'd like to get it on the next agenda. Can it be accommodated? And the board president makes that final call. In terms of expectations of response, you can't really predict. The Board of Supervisors may say, and typically the items are presented as your recommendations, but not necessarily as action items for the board to take. So the board receives your advice and then determines, thank you, we want to take action at a later meeting, or thank you, we've heard you, no action is necessary. There's really no standard practice by which they get back to you within 30 days or something like that, like there is with the grand jury. So that's the high level kind of rudimentary overview, and then I can try to troubleshoot specific questions for this board if it would be helpful.
That's great. Thank you. I don't know if there's any other questions from anyone.
So not necessarily on that specific, but what is do we have a date in which you're going to make a presentation to the Board of Supervisors? And has that been approved by the president of the board?
Hasn't been finalized. Hasn't been finalized yet. So this action was just taken. We will bring it to the board president and say, is it going to be, the next meeting is August 12th? Is it going to be August 12th? Is it going to be August 26th? Is it going to be sometime in the future? I don't know what the board president's desire will be. Given that we're in a particularly odd time with the activities the board is undertaking related to the sheriff, I don't know if they'll say, we're going to hear this after we're done with other business, or they'll take it now and say, expect a response sometime after we're done with other business. So we don't have a date to answer your question directly.
So our recommendation, previous action to recommend a permanent inspector general with subpoena power
So that one, to increase our chances of getting in front of the board, we removed it because that one was tied to other actions regarding the process of potentially picking a next sheriff. We know that they don't want to discuss that at all right now because they're focused on what's happening currently. So now just doing a recommendation to just do a presentation on the inspector general.
Yeah. Okay. And so, so we'll take whatever, I mean, we took our previous action, we took the action tonight, and then now we're relying on whom to bring that to the board to determine how and when that will be presented to the board.
Yeah, it would typically be a combination of the board member liaisons and their staff and the CEO's office. So usually we'll check in with the board president, say we have this item that's been requested to be on now, later, never. What's your pleasure? Yeah.
And if the board president, that's the right title, right? If the board president doesn't schedule it, we could show up during public comment and present it during public comment if it doesn't get scheduled.
Absolutely.
In order to bring it forward. And then pester our liaisons to get it formally on the board for discussion.
Sure. Yeah. We would prefer it not to go that way, but yes, if you all feel like that's what you need to do to get your voices heard, you can certainly do that.
And I would prefer it not go that way either. I mean, having served as a city attorney for a body in a similar situation, you know, because they can't discuss it if it's during public comment, whereas if it's agendized, they can actually have a discussion whether they want to specifically, you know, and what information they want in order to consider taking action on it, et cetera. So obviously that's a much better course of action, but if there is no action, then that would be an option that we could pursue.
Yep, absolutely. And that's even called out in the boards and commissions handbook as an option.
Yeah. Okay.
Thank you. Any other questions or comments? Oh, Jackie, go ahead.
I would just like to say that I will commit to you not having to pester anyone to take this to get it on the agenda.
I figured
that's our
bringing it up,
reason
that would happen.
And the time-wise, the current schedule is pretty mapped out, and so the current agenda deadlines for submitting something right now, the soonest would be the August 26th agenda. I know that's a very packed agenda, so it may not be then, but we will at least, working together, get back to you on when it's looking like we could do that.
Thank you.
Even if we could have a tentative date certain before our next meeting would be helpful, so that we know kind of potentially progress is going to be made as to when we can make the presentation would be helpful. And our next meeting would, assuming we cancel the August 6th meeting because of tonight, would be the September 3rd, I think. Yeah.
Anything else? No? Okay, thank you. Next item on, oh, sorry, is there any public?
Members of the public, if you wish to comment on agenda item number 6, please use the raise hand feature on Zoom or bring a speaker slip up to the clerk during this time. You'll be given 2 minutes to speak. No public comment. Back to you, Chair.
Great, thank you. Next item on the agenda is a motion to cancel our meeting on the 6th. Let's bring it up because we had a few special meetings, so we met more often than we normally do. So if we would like to cancel the meeting on the 6th, opening it up to the commission. Feel free. That makes a motion. Can I get a second?
Second.
Thank you. Open up for discussion. Is there any public comments?
No. Oh, wait, hold on. We do have a hand raised that just. Pat, you may begin when you're ready, Pat.
Thank you. Thank you. As much as I support you in taking a vacation, I think goes without saying that you'll do some stuff to get done when you need to get done before the date when you know that you're going to speak to the Board of Supervisors. Also, it'd be great if you were to notify people such as myself who are on your mailing list the date of that Board of Supervisors meeting, so that I can be there and speak in favor of the ordinance and ordinances that I have sent to you today. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Pat. Last call for public comment. Nope. Back to you, Chair.
All right, motion and a second. All's in favor? Do we need a roll call? No, okay. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Great. Okay, with that, unless there's anything else, I'm going to adjourn the meeting. Thank you so much.